In this video, I am going to go over Lead Conduit's website. So let me just first say, Lead Conduit has two versions of their software. They have what they call Classic, which is what I use. I don't use the other software that they have, which is their newer version. So if you're using that, the concept is the same in how you set everything up. It's just different. Now, the good thing about them is they have really good support. They will set up whatever you want. And realistically, that's what I do. I don't really set up campaigns anymore. I just have them do it. I know how to do it. I just don't feel like doing it. Just so you understand. So I send their support everything I need, and they take care of it for me. So if this stuff is the most technical part of it, and it is a pain in the butt, I will say that. But you need it, right? You need to be able to distribute leads. You need to be able to, just filter everything and send the right leads to the right buyers is a very important part. So you can either just outsource this to somebody who can manage it for you, or you could just pay the support team to take care of everything for you. Because once you set it up once, it's all done. You don't really need to do anything after it's set up. So it's really like a set it and forget it. And managing everything is a lot easier than actually going into the nitty gritty here and creating all the accounts and campaigns and whatever. So, but either way, I'm going to go through this. But again, this is the classic side. So when you log into your account, to set what you want to do is you're going to have a recipient, right? That's somebody who's getting the leads. You're going to have your website where the leads are coming from, and you're going to create a campaign so everything happens in that campaign, right? Wherever the leads you want them to go to. You have to create the campaign to do that. So let's just say this is the first time you're logging in, which I'm assuming it is, and you're going to have to create a recipient first. So that means you log in as a recipient button. You click it. You do non-account recipients. You're going to come to this page, and it's going to say add a recipient. So you're going to click it. Here, you're really just going to type in the company's name. So let's just call it ABC Corp, right? This is whoever you're selling leads to or whoever is taking the leads from you. So you're going to click Add Recipient. Then that's going to go through. There's nothing else to do there. So the next thing you're going to do is go to Campaigns. So here, you're going to click on Campaign, and you're going to do New Campaign. That's going to bring it here, and you're going to call the campaign whatever you want. So let's just say, now, there's a couple of different ways to create campaigns because you're going to have to create one campaign where all your leads are coming into. It's like your inbound campaign, right? All the leads are going to come into the campaign. So let's just call it inbound just for fun. So that means that this one is all the leads are going to come into this campaign, and then inside this campaign, you're going to create destinations. So I'll get to that in a second. So we're going to call this one inbound. The recipient of this is either going to be you or it's going to be one of your buyers. So let me try to break this down for you to make it simple. Let me pull up Notepad. All right. So just so you don't get confused. So what's going to happen is there's a couple different ways to do this. So you have a website, right? The website is where you generate the lead. After you generate the lead, you're going to take that lead from Gravity Forms after they fill out the form, and you're going to send it to Lead Conduit. When you send that lead to Lead Conduit, there's a couple different ways you can do this. One way is you're going to create a campaign like we're doing now, and let's just say it's ABC Corp, which is your buyer. That means the lead's going to go into ABC Corp, which is your campaign, right? We're going to call it, this is a campaign. We're going to call it ABC Corp, and then the lead is going to come into Lead Conduit, right? Come into Lead Conduit and go right out to ABC Corp. Meaning that ABC Corp is the only buyer in this campaign. So you create a campaign just for ABC Corp. That's it. The other option, this is how I run things. I create a campaign, and I just call it, let's just say, my inbound campaign. So that means all my leads go into it. Then inside that campaign, I have buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3, and so on, right? Could be 10 buyers, could be 20, could be 100, but let's just say there's only 3. So now what happens is when a lead goes into that campaign, right? And then it's going to go to buyer 1 and it's going to say, what's the filter for this lead? Because each lead is going to have a specific filter. So I'm going to use business loans just to make it simple. So let's just say buyer 1 has a filter that the lead has to do at least $10,000 a month in revenue, right? Buyer 2 says, you know what, this one can do 5,000 to 10,000 per month in revenue. Buyer 3, let's just say they could be a startup, and that's all they care about. They just want a startup lead. Let's just pretend. Okay, so now you have buyer 1 has a filter. That means a lead has to do $10,000 a month in revenue. You filter that one out. And then if it doesn't fit 10,000, it's go to the next buyer. And then if it says, oh, is this between $5,000 and $10,000 a month in revenue? And then the third buyer, if it says no, then it goes to the third buyer, and it's just a startup. So it pretty much means that buyer 3 gets all the leads that the other 2 don't get, right? That's just a simple concept for me to explain it to you. So now, depending on how you do it, it's depending on how you set up. So let's just go through this. So now, let's just pretend that this is your inbound campaign. Now, if you're not having a specific buyer like that recipient, right? ABC Corp is a recipient. If they're going to get this lead, so you would choose them from the recipient list, and you just click that button, and the list will be there, and you choose ABC Corp. And then you say, all right, well, what fields they want? So let's just pretend it's first name, last name, email, and cell phone. Now, they're just making your life easy by giving you these fields. You can always add more fields. You can add as many fields as you want, and you can call them whatever you want. They're just giving you the popular ones. But let's just pretend it's first name, last name, email, and cell phone. So that's pretty much it. You create the campaign. So now that it's created, this is what it looks like. What you want to do is you can go in here and edit the campaign info and call, you can put a tagline, a description. This is all for your information, just so you understand. You don't really need to do anything here, just so you understand. This is all for your personal information. No one else is going to see this. So you don't really have to edit unless you want to and, know what it is. So the fields are the next thing you need to worry about. So first name, last name, email, phone. And again, if you want to add fields, just add the field here. You can call the field whatever you want. If you want to put, address, maybe you have a credit score, maybe it's a loan value. If it's mortgages, there's a bunch of stuff for mortgages, student loan consolidation, whatever your field is, this is where you put it. You can choose your field type, whatever this is here. And then typically most stuff is going to be text, but if it's specific to city, date, whatever, you can just choose whatever you want. All you need to do is parameter name. This other stuff you don't need to worry about. So you choose your parameter name. Let's just say again, let's see what I have here. Let's see, credit. Okay. Let's say, credit, let's just say credit. So this would be like their credit score. You just hit save. So that's just how you create a new field, and it will just be here. See how each one, this is text, phone, email, because these are all the fields that they had. So now we're going to go back. So now we're here. So the other things, acceptance criteria. You could say edit acceptance criteria. I never really mess with this stuff. What this means, well, I just have this on email. Let me just put it that way. So the only thing I care about, acceptance criteria means that the validation and acceptance criteria set here controls which leads are accepted or rejected as campaigns. So if you want to basically be able to accept or reject a lead based on a certain field, that's what you put the field in. So for example, I just use email. And what that means is when someone submits an email address, I can basically say, hey, okay, if it's a duplicate email, reject it. I don't even want the email in here. I don't even want the lead in here if it's the same email. You can do it with phone number. You really don't want to do that with first name and last name because plenty of people have the same name, right? The only other one that you really care about is a phone number. But I don't even do that. I just use email for my stuff. It makes it simple enough. So, and I've never had an issue. So, but totally up to you. But So if it was up to me, I would just only check email off and just call it a day. And what that's going to do is then you'll be able to reject leads if it's a duplicate email or whatever the case may be. So time of day is your next one. I'm sorry, your duplicate checking. So this is where we just talked about. So what you do is it says, your campaign, you can reject duplicate leads. So you click here, reject duplicate leads. You can go back a certain amount of days. If you say, I want to reject leads on 30 days only, the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever you want. But if you don't do anything, it'll just check all of them. And then you make sure email is checked, which it's not going to let you not check email. So you do that, make sure these two things are clicked. And now what that means is that if it's the same email twice, it'll reject it. All right, the next step is accepting leads. So this is where you can say you got to check this box and then you got to choose a time. So let's just say you only want leads from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now this is all Central Standard Time, just so you know. So Central Standard Time. So 9 to 5, you hit save. And now only leads are coming 9 to 5. Of course, you could choose whatever times you want. Or you uncheck this and and then it'll do leads 24 hours a day. The next step would be add a custom script. I've never done this. I wouldn't even bother touching this. You don't need to worry about that. Now, you want to add sources for the campaign. Now, this kind of goes down to the sites. So, let me go to sites real quick. So, if you want to add a source, you click on sites, sources and sites. Now, this is where now you go to add a site. So now you want to, so we just created so inbound, so that's the name of the campaign we just created, right? And you're going to create a site name. So let's just say it's just abc.com, right? That's the name of the site. Now this is the name of the site where the leads are coming from. So wherever you have your form, whatever that domain is, that's what you put here. This is just, again, a reference. If you put ABC, it's fine. This thing has no idea whether it's .com or not .com. This is just for your own reference, so you know where the leads are coming from. So you could put abc.com, you could put ABC if your site's name is, Amco Corporation, right? Whatever you want to put, you just put there. But that's just for the site name. So now what you're going to do is, let me just add the source here so that we can go back to, so that's going to go through. I'm going to refresh this page. So the new stuff is here. And so you see how lead sources now appears as abc.com. So you can actually view and manage your sources. So if you want to edit the campaign access, this is the only site that can actually send leads to this campaign. And there's an ID here. In my other video where I go over WordPress and how to do this in WordPress, this is your ID for the site. So we go back. So now here, under purchase from sources. So this is where you decide this unlimited purchase from sources, unlimited number of leads. This is where you decide how many leads they can get. So you click on that, and you can click on volume caps, and click on unlimited. Well, right now it says unlimited because that's the way it's set. So this is where you can set the volume caps. Do a daily cap. You can say, I only want them to get 10 per day. Or each day of the week. Maybe they don't want leads on the weekend. 0 on Sunday, 10 on Monday, 10 the rest of the week, 0 on Saturday. You could do that. You could do a monthly cap. Maybe they only want 1,000 a month. An overall cap, maybe it's only 2,000 leads total. So 2,000 leads total, 1,000 a month, they want 10 a day, right? Whatever it is, you could do that. Or you uncheck everything and they just get unlimited 24/7. So this is obviously self-explanatory. You can figure out what you need for your specific buyer there. So the next thing is, you have your lead source set up. That's done. Your creative materials. Don't even worry about this. Don't even worry about that. Data retention. Don't worry about that. And then your lead delivery destination. So add destinations. So now this is the part where you decide where the leads go to. So now, like I was saying before, if you create a campaign and you just want to go to ABC Corp and that's it, then a lead is going to come into lead conduit and go right out to ABC Corp. So let's do that for a second. Add a destination. Now you can do all this fun stuff here. Now this is where it gets really tricky. I'm just going to do an email one for now. And we'll do email first. So add new destination. So this is an email delivery. That means that you want to make sure your destination is enabled so it works. And then you can call it whatever you want. This is your name. You want to call it email delivery, call it email delivery. You can call it ABC Corp, email delivery, whatever you want here. This is the subject line of the email that the person's going to receive, so you can make this whatever you want. If you leave this blank, they're just going to receive all the fields from the lead, so you can completely leave it blank, totally cool. That means that they're just going to receive everything. And then the email address here. This is where you put the email address of the person that's getting the leads. So let's just pretend it's abc@abccorp.com. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's just pretend it's ABC Corp. So ABC Corp's your buyer, and that's your email address. You're going to hit save. See, it says enabled, and now this person's going to get that email. Now, if you want to, you can duplicate this, right? Copy this delivery destination. So let's copy it for a second. You turn this back on. You name it whatever you want. Let's put your email. So your email at gmail.com, let's just say. Now you're going to get this email. So this is the way I like to do it. They get the email, but you want to make sure like you know what's going on, right? So I'm going to create this where now they get their email, and then the second email I get. So now I can make this whatever I want. You can call it, ABC Corp lead. So I know there's an email to me, right, or to yourself, and I'm going to make the subject line something I'll remember so I know what it is. So I call it, ABC Corp lead. One other thing I'll mention. Actually, I'll mention it in a second. Okay, so now I got two email deliveries. One to them, one to me. Now what you can do is you go to this one. You go back to the first one. You can edit it again. You go to the bottom. See where it says on delivery success, continue next destination? That means if the email was a success, that means it's going to go to the next destination in that list that you just saw. So you can do not continue. That means if it is a success, don't send it to the next one. But obviously, in this case, we want to make sure it goes to the next destination. On delivery failure, now if it's an email, it'll never fail. The system will never fail. It just sent out the email. It doesn't really know what happened on the other end. So when it's email, as long as lead comes through, then you know it went. So when it comes to email delivery, this is the only thing that you can do. I mean, you can choose anything in here in the top one for success. So the other thing you can do is delay a delivery if you wanted to. You can delay it as up to a random amount of time, 5 days, 4 days, whatever you want. So we're not going to worry about that though. So now I'm going to save this. So now what's going to happen is email delivery, continue on success, continue on failure, because it's an email, so it has to. So the only thing you care about is that. So just so you understand how that works. And the other thing is you can do a filter. So you click that little button there, the gray one, set up filtering. In here, you're going to click the plus sign, and this creates your filter. Now, once you're done here, you click the plus sign here. Now you're working on this one. Now you're going to hit the plus sign on the bottom. And you're going to choose a field. Let's just say, credit. So there, we don't have a lot going on here, so there's really not much you can do. But let me just go through the settings so you at least understand it. So for example, one of the things that I do is like gross monthly sales because I sell business loan leads. So on my stuff, one of the biggest filters I have is how much revenue a company does. So in that case, I would choose a condition. So in here, let's just pretend it's credit. Actually, another filter I do is credit. So credit score. So let's just say it's credit, meaning credit score. Your condition is whatever you want. Just pause the video. You can see everything here. So I do is equal to. And you put the value. Your value here, let's just call it, 500. So that's a 500 credit score. Now this value is actually the value from the form in gravity forms. That's this value. So when you pull up gravity forms and you're creating your fields, there's a value in there. So in the other video, when you're creating gravity forms, remember this, that when you create a value in gravity forms, that value is this number right here, whatever that is. It could be credit score, it could be gross monthly sales, it could be how much money someone makes, it could be anything, right? But just make sure that you understand that the value in that for the filtering is the same value in gravity forms. So when it sends the information over, you got to make sure the stuff matches up. Okay, so credit is this. Now, you could do this 100 times, right? If you have credit, 500, 600, 700, whatever you want. And then you just do that. Now, there's two things you want to do. This doesn't really matter, this whether you do a success, error, or whatever. So I actually have mine on failure for whatever reason. It doesn't really matter. I think it's just failure or error is fine, but I just always have mine in failure for whatever reason. So that means that blocked delivery is called a failure. So that means if this is blocked, right? So that means that it comes through and somebody has, an 800 credit score. That means it's not going to work because in this case, it has to be a 500, 600, 700. So that means, let's just say it's a blocked delivery. So that means they have an 800 credit score, so it's not going to pass the filter. That means it's going to call it a failure in the system. That means it's going to be red instead of, not red, instead of being like black. So it's going to be red. You're going to know instantly if that lead failed. The other two conditions you have to determine. Now this is, you have to figure out what this works for you. So you're either going to do any condition below is met or all conditions below are met. So if it's any condition below is met, that means that it can be either a 5, 6, or 7. Or all conditions below are met, meaning it has to be a 5, 100, 600, and a 700, which in this case would never make sense. So, but you can do multiple things. You don't have to do credit. So let's just say, for example, you can say, all right, the credit has to be 500. The email has to be equal to, someone's email, and then first name or last name has to be equal to Jones, right? So clearly this doesn't make any sense. It's never going to happen. But you understand that when you do all conditions below met, that means every single thing here has to be met for this to go through. So typically I don't do that, and I do any condition below is met for this. And then on the bottom here is the other thing you have to worry about is block unless at least one rule passes. Now, one rule it passes means the top thing, not this is conditions. On top is a rule, so you can set up another rule. All right, now let me do that, and let's just pretend. Cell phone, let's just say begins with. Cell phone begins with, an area code. Let's just call an area code, 310. So that means you can say, okay, the cell phone has to begin with a 310 area code. So, and they must have, 500, 600, or 700 credit score. Right, I'll put this back to credit. So, right? So now what you're saying is, on the bottom, block unless at least one rule passes. That means you can say one rule pass. That means it's either they have a 310 area code or they have a 500, 600, 700 credit score. Or you change this to block unless all rules pass. That means they have to have a 310 area code and the credit score has to be 567. Then they have two other options. Never block no matter what or always block. So never block no matter what makes no sense. You might as well just not set up a filter. And then always block no matter what, you might, that doesn't really make any sense. I mean, you have to have a very specific case to do that. So for me, it's either one of these two. Either the one rule pass or the all rule pass. And then after that, you hit save filter. Actually, you have to hit start filtering too. So start filtering and save filter. Hit the X when you're done. And there you go. See right here, it says 2 filter rules. So now it's in there. So now this will only get emailed if those 2 filters hit. So that's how you do email delivery. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another delivery. Another delivery, I've never used QuickBase before, and I've never used Trusted Form. So I'm not even going to touch those two. I've done custom HTTP posts, but I've only done it where I paid them to do it for me. The only one that I've done myself is HTTP, email, and campaign. So let me go over campaign for a second. A campaign is going to be when you send a lead from one campaign inside Lead Conduit to another campaign inside Lead Conduit. So that's where this comes into play. Let me go back to my notepad. So this is this part now. So this part's done, right? A lead came in and went out. This part is campaign. Lead came in, and you have different buyers. So the best way to do this, the best way, and I've tried multiple ways, but this is the best way to do it. You create a campaign for each buyer. I mean, each buyer, now you go in here and you create a separate campaign for each one. That means you go to campaigns, new campaign, and you call buyer 1. Campaign, new campaign, buyer 2, buyer 3, and you set it all up. Now you can copy a campaign. So that means in your campaign list, there is going to be a button that allows you to copy a campaign. So if you already have a campaign done, you already did all the work, and you kind of want to do it all over again, you click on the campaign. So here's my campaigns. And up top right here, it says copy campaign. You just do that. And then you basically click here, and you're going to select who you want the recipient to be for the new campaign. So you have to set the recipient first before you do that. So now what's going to happen is we're going to go back to the email delivery. So now this is the email delivery from one campaign to another. So that means you have to go set up your recipient for the campaign buyer 1 recipient, set up campaign for buyer 1, and now you're going to set in that campaign, you're going to send it out to that person, meaning in that side that campaign, you're going to say, all right, send an email to buyer 1. Another campaign, buyer 2, send an email to buyer 2. That means you're going to click your campaign list here. All your campaigns are going to appear, and you're going to choose the one you want. So let's just say real quick, I just choose this one. And then it's going to ask you, what information do you want to send over? So you can check the boxes. Now, I have all the stuff set up already, right? But it's not all going to match up because I don't have all the right fields and stuff. You have to create the fields for each campaign that you want to send from one campaign to another. So if you have company name in one, see how I do this? So this means that the campaign that we're in right now, which was ABC Corp that we set up first, only had what? First name, last name, email, and credit, right? That was the only ones it had. So I could technically put this here because that makes sense, credit score. But it doesn't have time in business, loan amount, postal code, company industry. It doesn't have this stuff, so I can't even put it in here. I can't move the data over. So like I would have to uncheck company name because company name doesn't exist. I would have to uncheck phone and gross monthly sales. So you only want to check off the fields that you want to move from one campaign to the other. So that's what you're doing. You're taking the lead data, and you're sending it from one campaign to the other inside Lead Conduit. That's all you're doing. So you go from one campaign, the inbound campaign, to buyer 1 campaign. And that's all you're doing. So you got to go through the same process and create the campaign for buyer 1 and move the information from one campaign to the other. And then in the buyer 1 campaign, you're going to set up a destination, delivery destination, and you're going to send that that lead out via email or however that buyer wants to lead. So that's the way that works. The other way to do a destination is HTTP posts. This would be really, really difficult to do in a training video because there's literally 100 different ways to do this. The reason why is if whoever you're sending leads to, let's just say someone uses like a Salesforce or a Zoho or a Lead Conduit or any other company that does lead distribution. You have Bobberdo and Cake. There's so many companies out there that do this stuff now. Every single company is going to be different in how you do this. But the way that it works is those companies send you posting instructions. So that means they're going to send you instructions on how to send them a lead. I got to tell you, man, it sucks. So I hate doing this stuff. But the reason why I'm going through this is just so you have a basic understanding of how this whole entire thing works. The best thing I could tell anybody, if you're technical, you'll figure it out. All right, you go through it once and you go through the process and you'll figure it out. If you're not technical, you really wouldn't even bother trying to figure it out. Just pay Lead Conduit to set it up for you. You take the posting instructions. You got to like create the campaign and kind of set it up. And just don't do the lead delivery, the delivery destination. Like you can leave that part empty, but just create the campaign, create the buyer, all this stuff, and then just send them a support email and say, hey, can you please set this up? Here's the posting instructions. Set it up in this campaign. They'll do it for you, done within a couple of hours or whatever, a day. It'll all be done and you'll be good to go. That's what I recommend for that, because even if I went through this and I try to explain it to you, there's literally 100 different ways to do it. So I couldn't even do it all even if I wanted to. But so here's one from Salesforce, which is a popular company. This is what their URL looks like. So they're going to send you a URL to send the leads to. Then they're going to send you your username, password, all this crazy stuff that goes in here, and you have to line it all up and whatever. It's a complete mess. If you, It took me a long time to figure this stuff out, and I still hate doing it to this day. So this is basically, set up HTTP posting instructions. And again, there's 100 different ways to do it. There's no one way. Every company's going to be different. The only thing is you have to line up all of the different, um, fields. So, for example, you have first name, got to go to first name. Last name's got to go to last name. Email's got to go to email. So that means if their field is different from yours, let's just say their field is credit score instead of credit, you have to put in their field. So you're basically taking your data and you're going to send it to their data, but you're telling the system, my first name equals their, maybe they call it first or F name, right? A lot of people do that. So F name, right? So it just, you got to line everything up. But again, I would just have Lead Conduit do it for you at least once. And then after it's done once, then you kind of get an understanding of how it's all set up. And if you're a technical person, you'll be able to figure it out. If you're not technical, then I wouldn't even bother with this. So that's how you do that. Or it's not how you do that. That's how I would just recommend going down the road. And so you don't have to worry about it. So add new destination. So we went over HTTP, which is going to be the most common one, email and campaign. So email is going to be good if someone just wants an email, and then campaign is internal. So that's pretty much, I know this is a long video, but that's pretty much how you kind of get the basics for Lead Conduit. Every company is going to be different. You can use any company out there, and all their support will help you. I feel bad because I would love to give you more information, give you step-by-step instructions on really how to set all this up, but because there's literally 100 different ways to do it, set up posting instructions, and there's 100 different companies to use, I would have to go sign up for every single company and learn every single company and make a video for every single company. It's just impossible to do. But of course, here to help, here to point you in the right direction, whatever we can do. But if you do use Lead Conduit, I'll be able to help you out the most. But if you don't, that's totally fine. If you don't like how much they charge, whatever, there's plenty of companies out there. But the concept is going to be the same. It doesn't matter which company you use, and that's that. So hopefully, you get this going. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know.